When I walked down the aisle and married Mark 3 years ago, I stepped into a chapter of my life I had never envisioned quite this way. I wasn't just becoming a wife. I was also stepping into a role I had only imagined from afar, becoming a stepmother. Mark had a teenage son named David, only 14 at the time, a boy balancing his own world of school, friends, and memories. I was 32 then, filled with dreams of someday having children of my own, but I had never expected motherhood to arrive at my doorstep in this form. Sudden, complex, and very real. In those first few months, I wrestled with uncertainty. How do you walk into a child's life, especially one who has already endured the loss of a mother years earlier, and find a place without feeling like an intruder? Mark was steady and loving, always trying to bridge gaps, but I knew instinctively that no matter how kind I was, David wasn't going to automatically open his heart to me. The first year was especially delicate. David was polite, always polite, but there was an invisible wall between us. He would come to the dinner table, murmur a soft, "Thanks," eat quickly, and then retreat to his room. He wasn't disrespectful or cold, just careful, like someone guarding a fragile part of themselves. I tried not to take it personally. After all, I was the new person in his world, and he hadn't asked for any of these changes. Still, inside me, there was a longing, a quiet hope, that one day we could build a real connection. Not as a replacement for his mom, but as someone who truly cared for him. One quiet morning, while making coffee, I remembered a phrase my grandmother used to say over and over. The heart of the family lives in the kitchen. Food had always been my language of love, the way I expressed gratitude, warmth, and comfort. Growing up, I had learned that recipes could be more than instructions. They could be bridges. My grandmother had a recipe that was practically sacred in our family, her apple cinnamon rolls. They weren't ordinary cinnamon rolls at all. The dough was softer than clouds, the apples freshly caramelized, and the glaze, a mix of honey, nutmeg, and a secret ingredient she never revealed to anyone outside the family. I could still hear her voice saying, "One day, you'll pass this down to someone who truly matters." That memory sparked an idea. Maybe food could be the bridge between David and me. One Saturday morning, Mark left to help his brother fix a broken fence, leaving David and me at home. I spotted David slouched on the living room couch, headphones on, thumbs scrolling endlessly on his phone. Normally I'd give him space, but that day, courage nudged me. "Hey, David," I called out from the kitchen. He tugged one earbud out, glancing at me, curious but cautious. "Yeah?" "I'm making something special today," I said, trying to keep my voice casual. "It's a family recipe. Want to be my taste tester?" He shrugged, feigning indifference, but I caught a flicker of curiosity in his eyes. "What is it?" "You'll see," I said with a playful smile. "It's a surprise." I began pulling out the ingredients: flour, sugar, apples, cinnamon, yeast. As I mixed the dough, I noticed him lingering in the doorway, still pretending not to care but watching me all the same. That tiny step toward the kitchen felt like a mile to me. "You can help if you want," I offered, my voice light, not pushing. To my delight, he stepped inside, hovering near the counter. "So, what are you making?" he asked again, his curiosity cracking through. "It's kind of like cinnamon rolls," I said, "but different. It's my grandmother's recipe. She called them apple cinnamon treasures. They were a big deal when I was a kid." His eyes lit up slightly. "Do you actually put apples in them?" "Yes," I said, smiling. "Fresh apples, chopped and caramelized. That's what makes them special." Before I knew it, David was standing next to me, awkwardly peeling apples with a butter knife. He wasn't fast, but he was trying. Instead of correcting him, I started telling him little stories about how my grandmother would let me sneak bites of the filling when I was his age, how the whole house smelled like a bakery whenever she baked. He chuckled, and in that moment, I felt the first real crack in the wall between us. As the rolls baked, the scent of warm cinnamon and apples drifted through the house, curling around us like a hug. David sat at the counter, drumming his fingers impatiently, sneaking glances at the oven. "They smell amazing," he finally admitted. I grinned. "That's how you know they're almost ready." When the timer beeped, I pulled out the tray, the golden rolls glistening under the honey nutmeg glaze. David's eyes widened. Whoa. I slid one onto a plate and handed it to him. Go ahead. Taste test. He bit into it, his eyes going wide. Oh my gosh, this is incredible. Way better than anything from the store. His reaction made my heart swell. Really? Yeah, he said between bites, his grin stretching. What's in it? It tastes different, I winked. That's the secret part. Only special people get to know. He laughed, shaking his head. So, you're not going to tell me? Not yet, I teased. Maybe someday. That day became a turning point. Something as simple as sharing my grandmother's recipe opened a door we had both been knocking on silently. From then on, David began spending more time with me in the kitchen. Sometimes he'd chop vegetables while I prepared dinner. Other times, he'd pepper me with questions about how to cook. It became our quiet little ritual. Something just between us. Mark noticed, too. One evening at dinner, David animatedly told his dad about how we had baked together. Mark's eyes met mine, full of gratitude and pride. As the months passed, David and I created a rhythm. He began suggesting recipes, homemade pizzas, tacos, even burgers from scratch. I slipped in little pieces of my family traditions, and in return, I asked about his favorite meals and memories of his mom. At first, he hesitated to talk about her, but slowly, his stories came. My mom used to make lasagna, he said one night, his voice soft. Not from scratch or anything fancy, but I loved it. She'd let me sprinkle the cheese on top. I smiled, my heart tender. How about we make lasagna together sometime? We'll do it your mom's way first, and then maybe try it my way. He gave me a small, grateful smile. Yeah, I'd like that. It wasn't about replacing his mother. It never was. It was about honoring her memory while gently creating new traditions together. Over time, David began to see me not just as Dad's wife, but as someone who genuinely cared about him. The kitchen became our sanctuary, a place where we could talk about school, friends, and life while chopping vegetables or stirring sauces. Our conversations were often simple but meaningful. The biggest surprise came on my birthday. David handed me a small handwritten card. Inside, he had drawn a cinnamon roll with a smiling face. Beneath it, he'd written, "Happy birthday, Sarah. Thanks for letting me in on your secret recipe and for being there for me. I'm glad you're part of our family." I nearly cried. It was the sweetest, most heartfelt gift I could have imagined. In that moment, my grandmother's words came rushing back to me. The heart of the family truly is in the kitchen. By offering David a taste of my secret recipe, I had given him more than just food. I had given him love, trust, and a safe place to belong, and in return he gave me something even greater, the honor of being seen as family. To this day, whenever I bake those apple cinnamon rolls, David still gets that same wide-eyed expression he had the very first time. Now 17 and nearly grown, he still sneaks into the kitchen when he smells cinnamon in the air. "Are you making the treasures again?" he'll ask, grinning, and I'll nod, knowing that what started as a simple family recipe had grown into something much bigger, a bond no recipe card could ever fully capture. Because family, after all, isn't just about blood. It's about the little moments of care, trust, and love that bring people together. Sometimes over something as simple as a warm cinnamon roll fresh from the oven.